Good Wednesday evening. Welcome to BCP Live. I am Joey McWilliams, and this is a presentation of the Bryan County Patriot. Very glad that you have stopped by tonight. And listen, it's been an interesting day all the way around. There's so many things that we could talk about today. I think that it does warrant mention that we need to address that there's been some severe weather that has come through the area. It took a little while, did confirm through a couple of sources. And specifically, finally, the news stations south of the river did also confirm, too, there were 2 fatalities in Medill, and that was a number that was bouncing around over the course of the afternoon. I don't like it when sources start citing each other. And, when it's serious like this, that's not a cool thing. When you're talking about some other things in sports, I would mock them. I'm not going to right now. 2 fatalities, we know for sure. There's been a significant number of property damage in a lot of places. And so we'll get to that a little bit more. Hopefully we'll have a little bit more actually on the Bryan County Patriot website by tomorrow. And who knows who we'll get to visit with by tomorrow night. So we do want to keep you informed with that, as that's something that needed to be addressed today. I realize BCP Live has been almost a source of, COVID-19 news. There I go. Just got kicked off of YouTube. At least we're still on Facebook Live. But, we'll try to be current and relevant to wherever we are. And so I've talked for, a minute and a half, and we haven't even introduced our guest yet. But you know what? He's used to that because he's known me for a long, long time. I've known him for a long time as well. I want to introduce tonight Jacob Sheriff, the pastor at Victory Life Church right now. And Jacob and I have been friends for a long time. We go back to coach and basketball player, teacher, student. We work together in youth ministry. We've worked together in media ministry. We've worked together in just ministry, period. And my goodness, to talk about all the things we've done together would just take too much of the broadcast. Yeah. Just to say, I'm thankful to have my friend on with me tonight. Jacob, thank you for coming on the BCP Live.
It's my pleasure.
Listen, you have a lot going on, obviously, and then you throw in the middle of all of this, hey, there's coronavirus. So, pastoring a church the size of Victory Life with multiple campuses in multiple states, how do you take care of all that?
Yeah, a great team. We've been working on since early November, when my dad took a sabbatical. In December, he started working through congregationally, saying that more and more of the vision is becoming my responsibility. And then he took a sabbatical and then had a major event in his life in January. And so I'm kind of calibrating to what it means to lead at that level, working behind the scenes with our pastors. We have 12 campuses, and then out of nowhere, I'm kind of getting my feet underneath me of what it means to minister to our church body, on the weekends more consistently, lead our organization behind the scenes, and then bam, we hit a national state of emergency and have to kind of recalibrate all of the way we were doing things. Thankfully, we were ahead of the curve on a lot of things technologically, but I have a great team and multiple teams who love people, love the church, and are qualified and are doing great work. There's no way around it. It's certainly not a 1-man or a 5-man show. It's a big team effort. You can get more specific than that, but there is a lot of people doing a lot of work.
Well, no, and I think that sums it up. And having spent 17 years myself being a part of ministry and with the school and with the church and in various capacities. See, that's part of the problem right here, Jacob. I wore too many hats. That's something about working in life. You get to wear a lot of hats, and then I won't blame that. No, but one of the things, and you hit the nail on the head, I think, with what you said, maybe ahead of the curve initially to be able to handle something like this because of the broadcast capability that Victory Life as a church has had and has been doing for so many years, and really taken the steps even away from the TV channel, which the church for a long time into more of an internet focus. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, this was a dream, and my dad, the senior pastor, and one of our senior elders, I mean, pretty much like 20 years ago, where they started talking about virtual church and had a vision for reaching people as a part of the church before the internet was really a thing. And so we, as you worked in that environment with me, and even past me, and those things, working on multiple methods of just reaching people, connecting with people. And over the last 7-8 years, really wanting to start to build not just the ability to stream services, but actually what it means to take what makes up a church and start to do that in an online capacity. And then the last 3 years especially, we've had a team member by the name of Craig who had a lot of experience in that realm. And he really took the online campus kind of as a project, and has really made some headway in getting not just us reaching people, but us getting to think about what it means to minister to people, and technology, internet, websites, streaming sites like Facebook as tools of ministry, not just as broadcasts of ministry, but tools of ministry. And so we've kind of been in various ways working on this for almost 2 decades, but especially in the last 3 years, really honed in on what does it mean for Victory Life Church to not just have an online presence, but actually online church. And that's kind of where we're at now. All the things we've been working on, we have been on kind of we were coming to the end of kind of 5-year projects, and we were starting a new wave of 5-year projects, and all things digital was on a 5-year project that turned from 5 years to like 4 weeks.
Wow. And that's what happens in a situation like this. But, you talked about the team there at Victory Life, and it really is not only a good team, it's a very capable team. It's a team of people that, for I will say for the most part, there's all, I never want to make a blanket statement, but for the most part, and I will give the great shout out that always, the flow is there, and people who sacrifice for the greater good to get the gospel out, like you were talking about. I think one of the things that I want to go back that you said, because it does mean more today than it meant 5 years ago. And that is, you talked about the internet campus. Yeah. And right now we are dealing with what an internet campus really is, because, for years, and I'm going to look back to my days being associated with the church for just a moment there, hey, listen, Victory Live.
It's good days.
Good days. We had fun. And I say this, I love my time, and I love my time there, and I appreciate what God taught me, and by the way, I'm going to do the things I do today in large part because of the things I got to learn and do it in life. So, props to David Anderson, always, and all of that. But anyway, no, my point is, because we couldn't put our hands on it, I think that there were times that people didn't see the internet as a campus. Yeah. And I know at first I kind of shrugged a little bit. Okay, well, that's the, whatever number campus it was at that point in time. But it's more than that right now. And I don't want this to be the case forever, that we're always away from the body getting together, in the quote unquote house of God, even though we are the church. However, we're having to find out that, what? People can pray and you be in one place, somebody else be somewhere else. Talk about some of the things like that you've seen.
Yeah, it's a fair critique to critique what technology and things digital can't do. It's fair to do that, and there isn't a lot that can replace face-to-face, in-person, physical contact when it comes to the gathering of the church and being the church. So that's fair. However, there is unfair critiques about it, and as if to say you can't do something through this. And I struggle with the pros and cons and the things that it does well, but the gaps that it has. but it's not significantly different than the pros and cons of what we do in person and live. And so we've chosen to kind of push some boundaries out there, be willing to take some criticism as a way to learn and grow, but not just hide behind, oh, we can't do that because that's inferior. We, for now many years, somewhere around 15 years, 16 years, have done a lot of our services in our campuses through video. A lot of the messages is through video. It used to be delayed playback, and then we started doing various ways of doing live, and now we do it through the internet. And people say, well, I need to see that I want to hear the pastor in person, and that's fair. I get that. I understand that. But we believe that we are connected by more than physical proximity. We're connected by the Word, by the Spirit. And so already when we think of even brick and mortar physical campuses, we already have to think beyond just we think, how do we properly maximize ministry? And with us, we do the majority of the teaching through video. And I get that people might not like it as much, but you can't say it's ineffective any more than you can say that Paul writing letters was ineffective compared to him being there in person. And we just felt it was the same thing. So and I get it. People critique video messages. That's fine. It might not be for you, but that was just something we chose. Well, the same goes with not just the messages, but how we think about who the church is and what the church does, and how technology and digital means can actually facilitate that. And so many churches just do an online stream, and that's great. And we have some of that, but we really wanted to push some boundaries to say, well, what does a church do, and how can we use technology to do that? And so, okay, you be a part of a church and you pray. Mm-hmm. Okay, we want to do that in prayer. I want to lay hands on the sick and they recover. I want to pray face to face. But just because I can't now doesn't mean I can't do that in person now. Doesn't mean I can't pray. Right. And so those are things we started doing and really thinking about our online campus. And I have to do a huge credit to Life Church based out of Edmond, creating an online platform that our team, Craig, and the online team has taken and been able to adapt. That when we think about our service, we don't just think about it as a stream. We think about it as a gathering. And so we have, Anne from the UK that comes in as a host, just like we have someone assigned to the door as a greeter. Right. We have people who, when you say, I want prayer, go into a private chat to pray. We have someone that says, I raise my hand to say yes to Jesus, that then connects to someone in real time to be prayed for, to connect with. And we, beyond just even the service, we even have life groups that meet in Facebook groups, where there is a group that meets just like as if it were in a home. They do a Facebook Live, and that group connects with dozens of people, and they're in relationship. There's ways to serve on our online campus. So there's the majority of what we can do in person is possible to do online if you're thinking about it in the right way. Now, does it have its gaps and does it have its challenges? Yeah, of course. But so does everything you do. And we're trying to reach people and lead them on a journey to see Jesus. And in seeing Jesus, be transformed by Jesus. And you can bet we're going to use every stinking tool and method that is out there to do that. And because we disciplined ourselves early, because we argued pros and cons privately and have been working on these things, stretching our own boundaries and even facing some criticism, now all of a sudden we're set up to still be effective. That, yeah, there's things we miss, and there's plenty of people maybe even joining right now. I see a few of my Facebook friends have joined from the church. That, of course, there's plenty of people who say, yes, but I still want to meet in person. Absolutely. So do I. But we can't. So have we stopped doing church? No, we still are the church. And I can say confidently, we have not taken a backward step. Now, we might not have taken giant leaps forward in everything, But I would say we've taken a great step forward in this season in multiple ways, not the least of which is understanding how technology has actually facilitated us connecting together, even when we're physically having to be distant.
And by the way, I'm going to give a shout out to all the folks watching tonight. Lots of folks that are joining tonight. I really appreciate you stopping by. Of course, the Bryan County Patriot and BCP Live, our live version of Bryan County Patriot. And of course, please check it out, bryancountypatriot.com. That's where we do the news part. I always like to promote this as news and commentary, so it gives me a little bit of license to be able to have a little fun every now and again, too. But I try to stick with just the news. Speaking tonight with Jacob Sheriff, just the news, as he's giving us some news on what's going on with Victory Life and obviously in the season in which we are right now. I appreciate that the church was prepared, ready to go. You have a wonderful setup right there. I mean, that is absolutely fantastic. Now, I know you don't do all of your preaching from that setup, but you could.
No, we are ready. If the government put us on lockdown, we were still going to be able to have service, and I was still going to be able to do it from my house, no matter what. And so I've been able to have a great setup. I've done a few things for our church from here, but thankfully we haven't been on total lockdown. So I haven't had to use my home studio. It's actually just my study with a camera in it. Don't
make fun of the studio now, right? I mean, this one changes around. I know that all the folks, if you've just seen BCP Live, you haven't seen everything behind me just yet. So By the way, I will point out, because Jacob said that it is day 28 of not a lockdown, but a shutdown. So we are not in a lockdown right now. Well, speaking with the pastor at Victory Life Church, Jacob Sheriff, you talked and you mentioned a couple times that there's been criticism involved. And I would say that if you're not getting criticized, you're probably not doing anything. So that's going to come with it at some point in time. I have seen through the comments, we talked about things that you can do and can't do. It was pointed out, Jamie said you can't hug. So a little bit disappointed by that.
I can emoji hug, I guess, which is like on a side note, this is not the news. This is just you and I being friends.
Hey, this is common. We can do that
here. Introverts have prepared their whole life for a moment like this. All you extroverts are going to have to learn what we've been there's nothing like. I was talking to a couple people who are much even more introverted than me, and they're like, hey, I'm ready to have classes on training people how to live like this. I don't notice a significant difference in my life.
I am completely out of my element. I don't know what to do. If I didn't have this outlet right now to be able to share with people, I would probably, you'd be reading about me somewhere else. I'm so thankful for this, because as an extrovert, I am completely out of my element. Okay, shout outs to a lot of folks really quickly, but I do want to say shout out really quickly to Callie Engel, who says my two favorite youth pastors. So there you go. All right. Shout out to you, Callie. I appreciate you as well. And everybody for logging on tonight. Thank you very much for being a part of the broadcast. One other thing too, then, let me really quickly, in the middle of this, let me drop some names here. Want to get out some advertisers. I'm thankful for all of our advertisers on the Bryan County Patriot, and just a few of those really quickly. All Seasons Travel, Bryan Agri Products, the Choctaw Nation Foster Care, Firehouse Subs, Hausner's, speaking of Callie Engel Moore there, Justice Insurance, Prices Printing, Taco Casa, and Van Meter Realty. Jacob, you were talking about getting the word out. And of course, if you've been in a youth group with me at some point in time, you know that faith comes how?
By hearing.
Exactly. And hearing?
By the word of God.
Very good. My goodness, you listened, or may have read it once or twice yourself. Anyway, and that is the case. And we hear the word of God. And with the podcast or with what you have going on, and lots of folks are saying, hey, listen, the message is getting out there in such a way right now, and I'd have to go back to see who said it. So forgive me if I don't give you proper attribution, but this is a message that can be heard again and again and again. And lots of folks at this point now are becoming even more used to the podcast to be able to just, put it down and do dishes.
Yeah.
put it down and, get to work. And some folks are working from home now too. So they're putting your message on. They
Right.
couldn't do this in the office space,
Yeah.
but they can do it at home and put that in. You were talking about some of the ways technologically that you are reaching 12 campuses. Talk about that for just a moment.
Well, one thing we decided during COVID is
That's it. We're off of YouTube now, Jacob. We just got
know.
excommunicated from. I'm just kidding. We're still on Facebook Live. Don't worry.
Well, right now one of the things we did is when we first did this with the first 15-day kind of executive order, we wanted to try to, because we didn't know exactly kind of what the future held. What we did is we tried to keep campuses on their normal service times. And so we would stream through each campus's YouTube and Facebook. But as we saw this was going to get extended, we wanted to simplify. And so, we have through our Victory Life Church page now, we do 9 a.m. and 11 a.m. Central Time on Sundays. And then we do a Wednesday at 6:30. And these are kind of some of people's normal rhythms. But again, it's about connecting with people. And now, since we can meet with our whole church spread out geographically, we decided to kind of synergize that by putting them all together. But we also added during this time a daily prayer service, because the one thing I wanted to do is to keep people calibrated to the Word of God, to the Spirit of God. And if you're stuck indoors and you're just kind of churning through your work at home, or now you don't know what you're doing, and so you're just kind of streaming Netflix all day, we wanted to give a lot of touch points during this time where, people are kind of on, a shutdown. But those are just ways we're getting to people. What I've been most interested in is actually ways we've been connecting with people. It's nothing new to have your services online.
Right.
And we have chat features and things like that to get people connected. But we've actually had over 100 people over the last 3 weeks. Actually, we want to have features on our services and on our site where if you want to get connected, you don't have a church home, or you just stumbled across a feed like this and you're like, hey, I'd actually like to get connected with these people. People reach out to us to give us just one way to contact them. And then we begin a connection point. Some way of contacting them to really connect with them. We've had over 100 people over the last 3 weeks actually proactively fill out some type of form to give us a chance to reach them, which has been really great. But now even through daily prayer, what we're doing live on Wednesday nights, we do a live service on Wednesday nights where so far the last 2 weeks, it's just been me flying solo, taking prayer requests, taking questions. We've seen actually more people engage together than just consume content. Right. That's one of my pastoral concerns about this season, is we're making a lot of things accessible. Mm-hmm. And now, though I'm in favor of that and I won't stop that, there's a danger that I want to keep putting in front of people. Is there's a danger to see yourself as a consumer of spiritual content. And if you take that posture, then you'll eventually stagnate in your relationship with the Lord. And so we do things like our morning prayer, or I do things like Wednesday, and then do things like on our weekend that try to spur people to action of some kind, some type of response, some type of connection. And so we've seen an increase on those things as well, because I don't want to just, that's kind of when you start critiquing how things are done technologically, one of the fair critiques is that it can create consumers. However, that can be applied equitably to what you do in person. A lot of times we organize our church in such a way to make people consumers of church content when we are trying to make disciples. And so the things we're doing are trying to move people in that direction. And then as a church organizationally, we wanted to lead the way by doing service. So we are doing things like in Durant at our food bank. We took a whole weekend's offering across all of our campus, and we made it completely to outreach. And so we saw the giving on that weekend was just incredible. And it's at each campus
Cool.
is able to take a whole weekend's offering, and collectively over all campuses was almost $85,000. And so $85,000 from one weekend's offering is now able to be completely 100% funneled into that community for outreach. In Durant, there's been numerous things. One of the things I think is really cool is two small businesses in downtown. We were able to sponsor a lease payment for them just to stay in business during this time, because what's happened to them isn't their fault. And we don't want them to lose that business just because now we're unable to gather, or they're unable to make sales, or people are, customers are put at home. So things like that, we were wanting to activate action and serving. And one of that ripple effects is just keeping people in community, keeping people contacting each other. There's life groups that are serving each other. One of the life groups in Durant has an elderly person who's been diagnosed with cancer, and their life group is doing all the grocery shopping for them because they can't get out because they're in the vulnerable category. So their life group is actually going out and doing grocery shopping for them. That's the stuff I'm interested in.
Right.
Getting views on Facebook, that's great. It's nice. But if it's just that, it can lend itself towards an ego trip for whoever's in charge, and not actually, okay, how do we actually move people in the direction of discipleship, not just consumption? And again, it's still a concern I have, but I can't control people. I can't control, people who show up at a physical campus and yet are still treated as a consumer of religious content. So it's what are we doing to lead people in the direction of connectivity? And that's what we've really tried to emphasize, is that connectivity. When we have someone who said, I raise my hand to say yes to Jesus, it isn't just, like, oh, cool, we see a hand, or we see a digital hand raised. No, it actually creates a connectivity where they send us just enough information to connect with them personally and lead them on the journey of relationship with Jesus. So I'm kind of rambling on that, but that's kind of
and really, I think when you got to that point, and of course, obviously all of it's good, but I'm glad you made that point, especially because that was really one of the things that I wanted to ask. I mean, it's good for the numbers, and I'm a numbers guy. I like to see the numbers. I know that you're a very studious person, and you study, you understand where the numbers come from. Yep. But somebody getting saved is more than just a number.
Yep, that's
and it's more than just I want to raise my hand, and then we're never going to see you again, or never. We don't know what happened to you. Did everything go okay? Did on and on and on. Yeah. So yes, the connection is the big thing. And I appreciate that that's something that's going on. Well, I do want to give a shout out to Pastor Craig, who has been commenting throughout the entire night. So shout out to you, sir. Thank you very much for being online with us. And if you haven't read all of Pastor Craig's comments, he's been giving a running discussion throughout our time tonight. You need to go back and check out what he had to say, because they're all good and valid points. And Jacob, to your point really quickly, and man, it's been nearly 30 minutes. I know between the two of us, we could easily go past midnight, not blink an eye. We won't do that to the people, but you're right. We can easily become just consumers.
Yeah.
And it is easy right now. And we've laughed about some of these things, but Walmart's just selling tops anymore. They're not selling bottoms because people don't have to dress all the way up to go to work. And Sean Rawlings called me out the other night on the show, and he doesn't think I'm wearing pants right now. And you know what? No one's ever going to know. Yeah, but anyway, the point is we can become consumers and let it all be too easy that we just, okay, well, I went to church today. No, you really sat on your couch and you didn't do it, but now you can, with what you're talking about, with the connection and with an interactivity, you can really do more than just consume. Yeah. You can be a part of the church. And I think that's incredible. I just commend you and the church for doing that.
Well, we set out. I appreciate that, because we set out, and I mean, we have a long history, so we know each other's passion points and what we genuinely care about. And I care about people seeing Jesus, and we have to recognize that our call to make disciples doesn't mean it's a microwave process. We can't just get you can't just have a service that has people in it. But people are on a journey, and you have to find ways of inviting people onto the journey. You have to find ways of getting people into the journey. And if they start as a consumer, you can't critique the person inviting just because the person who received the invitation is primarily a consumer, primarily postured in life towards being a consumer. The thing is do we actually have a process for this journey? How do we make it make sense? What people would be saying yes to? And that's been my passion point, is that we need to confess Jesus, believe in Jesus, but we have to also hear his calling that says, follow me. We have to follow Jesus. And so it was actually interesting. The series I was in was for the month of March and April leading up to Easter and the week after, was we as a church were going through the whole Gospel of Matthew. And so we mapped out a reading plan of the Gospel of Matthew just to get, my goal was to get people in their scriptures, which I know that's what you adamantly care deeply about. You got to get in your word. Faith comes by hearing, hearing by the word. And so we wanted to get people engaged in their scriptures, and then engaged in their scriptures in such a way where they're seeing Jesus, because, I like my preaching. I think it's okay. I like my dad's preaching. I think it's really good. Yeah. But there's nothing like you being in your scriptures and the Holy Spirit opening your eyes to something, like you and the Spirit connected. And so that was my goal. And so I kind of taught like in survey form, kind of highlights of the Gospel of Matthew. Well, it just worked out to where, man, once we hit this COVID season, where now we're not able to gather. It's like my texts that I'd already pre-selected were things like Matthew 20 or Matthew 16 was the first weekend we weren't allowed to meet, where we had to cancel all gatherings. And Matthew 16, if anyone wants to save his life, he'll lose it. Anyone loses his life for my sake, he'll save it. The next weekend was Matthew 20, where he says that, Gentiles use authority to lord it over people, but it shall not be so among you. And so I was able to say, like, what I'd already felt like the Lord was telling me to talk on with our church, be able to lead through that to get people to see Jesus's constant invitation was to follow him. And we're invited on this journey. And so that's kind of what I'm most interested in everything we do, whether it be a service in person gathering or anything we do digitally. That's why whatever critique about digital means, that's fine. What we have to do is lay out a journey, and we have to catch people where they are. That's where after this season, digital's not going away. The question is, are we going to utilize it properly? And that's what the disciplines, I hope, not just our church, but every church is learning, is to how to utilize it properly to bring people onto the journey, not just put out spiritual content. Now, I'm okay with putting out good content, and good content can help. But if that's all you're doing, you're not showing people the journey to go from consumer of spiritual content to follower of Jesus. And that's our goal. That's my goal. And I hope if we're able to help any other church in something, that it isn't just, Pastor Craig opened up our online studio, and we have a couple churches locally that had no means for recording their messages or their services. And we bring them up to our studio and we record them, preaching their message and able to give them that message so that they can serve. That's great. And I hope that even churches that have never done anything digitally, that are now having to kind of learn this, that they just don't go backward, that whatever ceiling we can create becomes a new floor for the next season. And for me, what has to undergird that whole thing is the journey of following Jesus. That's discipleship. Whatever checkpoint we can get people onto the journey, awesome. Whatever tool we can use to get people on the journey, awesome. If you don't use digital tools to get people on that journey, you're going to miss a large harvest, because this is where people are. You might have a lot of people in your geographic area, but you have tons more people through means like this. And if you can not just catch people, but actually lead them on a journey, then that's what we're really after. And that's what my prayer, my passion, my pursuit as a pastor for our church is, that we're not just broadcasting a service. We are taking who we are as a church and bringing it to you because you're the church. And then we want to lead people on that continual journey in relationship with Jesus. So now I'm preaching. So that's kind of what we're up to.
That's it was only a matter of time.
You and I both have a license. So
that is true. And people, if you've watched BCP Live, you probably get to a certain point in the broadcast and go, it was only a matter of time. Yeah. So that's all right. Well, listen, I appreciate it. I will say publicly, full disclosure, that Jacob is my friend, and I really appreciate Jacob. We've known each other for many, many years. We've been friends for a long, long time as well, and that will always be the case. So I support what you're doing. Let me throw this up here on the screen really quickly. That's where you go if you would like to have a starting point, right, for Victory Life Church. And the reason I want to put that up there, that part of the website in particular, of course, we can scroll down and see some of the messages that you have going on. There's that follow me and lots of, who's that guy? Anyway. Yeah,
he's a good guy.
He is a good guy, very much a good guy, and I am glad to see him. I've been seeing him on Facebook a lot lately, too, so that makes my day and makes me smile every time. But this right here in particular, I was so glad to see that first, because we've been talking about that right here on BCP Live day after day, and we close out our time here saying that we should be wise, we need to use discretion, but we do not walk in fear. And Jacob, that lines up exactly with what we've been saying on here over and over and over again. And this, this broadcast, it is what it is. I'm not going to hide who I am, and I'm not going to try to be somebody else or anything else. I'm not, I generally don't get my Bible out for the BCP Live broadcast, but I'm not going to back down from this. We do not walk in fear, no matter what. So, Jacob, just close out your time. I've got a couple more things to say, and I want to let you go because, again, it could turn into April 23rd, and we wouldn't know it. But shout out to all the folks. You got a lot of good people that are cheering you on tonight, and I appreciate that. That is so cool. I think, by the way, if I said Callie Ingle a while ago, didn't I?
But Callie you didn't. The second time you said her name, you said Callie Ingle more.
Okay, all right. I'm just sorry.
She did get married, Micah. We do know you exist.
That's right.
We know you're a good guy. You two have created two beautiful children together.
That's true. Hey, Micah, how you doing, man? Anyway, Jacob, with your time, invite the folks to watch and to interact.
Yes, yeah. So that's always my big thing. If you're not connected to a church, get connected to a local church. If it's not us, that's fine. I am more interested in the capital C church, the church that is the Lord Jesus Christ, not a particular singular church, even ours. And so our heart is to connect with people and to lead people on that journey of transformation in Jesus. And so if that's something that you're not connected with a local church, VL.church. It's that simple, VL.church. We can point you in the right direction from there. And I'd love to connect. We'd love to connect with people. We'd love to connect with you. If you want to go on that journey, if you just want to watch and stay anonymous, you can do that too. Our heart is just to serve and just to connect. That's my intention. And what I think is a worse pandemic than coronavirus is fear. And people now are being captivated and controlled by fear. And fear is basically saying that this virus determines my future. And I do not believe that. I believe that Jesus is Lord. At the end of Matthew, since I've kind of been on a Matthew kick, the very end of Matthew, all authority has been given to me. Now go make disciples. And that's what I'm interested in. That's what I'm doing. That's what our church believes in, is committed to. Jesus is in charge, and he gets to determine our future. And I can trust him. No matter what my eyes see, I can trust him, and I'm not going to be controlled by fear. I can have wisdom and yet not be afraid.
That's
my
goodness.
There you go.
Man, well, you just summed up pretty much everything I've said in the last 31 episodes of BCP Live. So you won yourself another 15 minutes on the broadcast by saying this virus does not determine our future. I'll tell you something. I see your virus, Jacob, and I raise you. These charts do not determine who dies. These charts do not determine our future. So I don't care. I do care about the predictions. It's nice.
Sure.
And good. We can make good decisions, but I will not live my life based on a chart that says so many people have to die between now and August 2nd. Sorry, it's not going to happen. But anyway, I'll rein it back in. Jacob, it has been my privilege and my pleasure to have you on BCP Live tonight. I really hope that you'll come back. I'd love to get to visit with you again. I believe, and I've said this again since I believe the very first broadcast of BCP Live, I believe we're going to get through this thing more quickly than what the experts said. And not being unwise in that, but we're going to come through this whole thing more quickly than the experts have said. It's going to be a lot easier now too, because now the quote unquote experts are saying, well, the second wave is going to be worse. Okay, listen, we're not walking in fear. I want you to come back though in a few weeks and let us know a little bit more of how this has gone on. Then hopefully we're on the other side of at least some of this, and you can give us an update.
I would love to. Our friendship's too important to me for me to ever say no to your invitation.
All right. All right. I appreciate that a lot. By the way, before you leave, Micah said he forgives me, so we're all good. Shout out again to all the folks. Jacob, God bless you, sir, and your entire family that now has tied mine in number. 5 kids apiece. God bless you for that, man. And bless you and your family. To Hannah and all of you all. Thank you very much. I appreciate you, sir, man. Have a great night.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Jacob Sheriff on the broadcast. And okay, we're well into the 40-minute mark. And I appreciate the folks who have stuck around for all of this. My goodness, you're wonderful people. I would love to go through here. I can't go back and read all of them, but I will tonight because I want to go back and see every person that posted. So a little bit later on, I'll go back and look on there. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for taking the time to watch this tonight. And you know what? It is that interactiveness that makes a difference. And I really think, and lots of churches have this opportunity now. We're in the 21st century, and there are so many things getting to do what even I get to do here. And I believe God has opened up this door for me to hopefully get to visit with you, and like I said to Jacob, I don't get my Bible out here on the broadcast every night. I don't know that I ever have yet gotten my Bible out. I know I've quoted scriptures or things like that, but there is a lot that needs to be said on a daily basis. And man, I just appreciate you all giving me this opportunity to do this and share with you all. But look at what I'm at my house, And I laugh a little bit about the studio behind me and behind the navy blue curtains here. Okay, these navy blue, and they look black, but behind the navy blue curtains there is my MidwestSports.net backdrop. And already today and twice yesterday, I did some interviews with some athletes and coaches, and we're talking sports too. And so it's not too difficult to do the things that, Jacob's talking about. And I appreciate that. Churches can do this. Now, to do it well, it's just like he said, to do it well, it takes a team. It takes a lot of people doing a lot of things well. And even, as Pastor Jacob mentioned, to be able to take one broadcast, and then if someone says, hey, listen, I need somebody to pray with me to shift over to another area here, you've got to have that technology. Some of those things are a little bit further along than just me with a webcam and a Facebook Live opportunity. So there's a little bit more that goes into it than just, okay, I want to do this. It takes some planning. It takes some thought. It takes some work. But the capability is there. And that's just something that, is just great for all of you. My earphones are not wanting to stay in my ears tonight. I don't know what that is. All right, let's 45 minutes in. For those of you who have been watching tonight and are still watching, shoot me an email and tell me why. Anyway, thank you very much. Let's look really quickly at some numbers. I want to mention a few things. The tornadoes went through today, and we talked about that at the outset of the broadcast tonight. There were 2 fatalities in Medill. When we know more about this, and hopefully by tomorrow night, we will be able to give you a little bit more information on some of those things. So that is lots of property damage. There has been a significant number of property of property damage. Joey, thanks for responding. Joey at BryanCountyPatriot.com. There we go. There's been a significant amount of property damage both in Marshall County and in Bryan County. And I don't even know what happened in Choctaw County afterward because I stopped following the storms and had to get ready for this tonight. And so, yeah, that does sound like a little bit like a preacher, doesn't it? If I were a preacher, though, then I would say, in closing and then never close. So that's a little bit more like it. But fish hatchery got damaged. Okay, there obviously a couple of big businesses in Medill, and then I know there's been some damage to homes too. So we want to pray for people tonight. Definitely keep that in mind. There are a lot of people that, apart from just the situation in which we find ourselves, now there's been a tornado that's come through. So, and I'll talk about that at the very end. The U.S. now passing 847,000 confirmed cases of COVID-19. Oklahoma is 33rd in the country and behind the District of Columbia also in number of confirmed cases, 27th in number of deaths at 170. 6 cases now have been reported in Bryan County. Didn't have as much tornado. Okay. All right. Thank you, Kelly. Choctaw County didn't have any tornado touchdown. That's good. Wind and hail, hail's not as good, but still no tornado. That's very good. Durant has had 4 cases, Meade 2 cases. 2 people from Durant have already recovered. 1 from Meade has already recovered. 1 person, unfortunately, has passed. That was reported yesterday. Bryan County is tied for 42nd out of 77 counties in Oklahoma, with those 6 reported cases. As of yesterday, 608 people had been hospitalized total in Oklahoma in COVID-19 related cases. I want to come back to that statement in just a moment. Out of the 2,807, so that is 21% of all people who have been diagnosed with COVID-19 have been hospitalized, period. Not talking about those that are currently in the hospital, talking about those who were in the hospital, who have either recovered or passed on, and who are in the hospital right now. Only 608 out of 2,807. As of the number of those who have passed, as of today's number of 170 deaths, 112 of them had at least one comorbidity: diabetes, heart disease, or circulatory disease, chronic lung disease, liver disease, or renal failure. By the way, the state of Oklahoma has 42,175 collection test kits that are available at this time. As of today, from yesterday's numbers to today, 6 new deaths were reported, while 70 new recoveries were reported as well. This is day 28 of not a lockdown, but a shutdown. I want to give a shout out to some more of our advertisers here really quickly for the Bryan County Patriot. Shout out to Alliance Health in Durant, Bushwhackers, Corner Drug, Gordon Funeral Home, Heartbeat Realty, KFC, Shamrock Bank, Taco Mayo, and the Waffle Shop. I really appreciate the sponsors and advertisers for the Bryan County Patriot. One of the things that we do is put obituaries online for free, and we could not do this without our advertisers and sponsors. There is no charge ever to put an obituary on the Bryan County Patriot. We do that and see that as a community service. And we want to reach out to folks who already are, dealing with suffering the loss of a family member or a friend. So we want to take care of that. And we can because of our advertisers and sponsors. So thank you to all of you folks. Blood drives, there are a number of them on the way. Don't forget, the next one is tomorrow at the Colbert Police Station. Tomorrow at the Colbert Police Station from 2 to 6:30 p.m. Blood drive there. And then on Sunday at the First Baptist Church in Calera. I've also been talking a lot this week about the sports sites here that Emerald Quest, which is the name of the business, the overarching business here. There are sports sites that we have. And I don't know if any of you all caught this last night, but I had the wrong graphic up for the entire show. I had done 2 interviews already in the day, and I had my MidwestSports.net graphic at the bottom of the screen. So the entire time that Tony and Zim and I were talking, it wasn't showing BCP Live. I was showing MidwestSports.net. So, forgive me for that. If you saw that and thought, what in the world is going on? Actually, I think somebody said they saw that. They thought that was the sponsor of the show. So I guess it could be the sponsor of the show. I don't know. All right. We're at the 50-minute mark. I want to get out of here before I go a full hour because I've never done that with this show before. And I don't know, trying to keep it under an hour, but you guys are still watching. You all are so amazingly cool. I really do appreciate you. Listen, one of the things I could talk about, the state's set to reopen. If you check it out online on the Bryan County Patriot, I have responses from both the Republicans and the Democrats on Governor Stitt's idea to reopen the state, and it's going to be reopened in phases. We can talk about that a little bit more tomorrow. Also, the NFL draft is tomorrow, and one of the things that I thought was cool is the fact that they are banning political statements on clothing. It's going to be a virtual draft. And so they're going to have cameras, cell phones, whatever else at all of these people's houses, these first round draft picks that are, first round is tomorrow. And by the way, if you've lost me with an internet connection, I apologize. Internet has been a little sketchy over the course of the day. But they're banning political statements. So no political statements on the clothing. That's cool. Just give me sports. Just give me football. Whoever's the number 1 draft choice, fine. I want to hear about that. That's great. You won. You strived. You are now successful, and you made it to the NFL. Celebrate. Don't tell me about the Republicans or the Democrats. I don't care about either one of them. Just celebrate that you did well and you made it to the NFL. That's what you need to do. So that is there. We can talk about that if we need to. Let's see. I am taking a little bit of sabbatical from local social media because I want to, think happy thoughts. And so I'm trying to do that. Although I may get online tomorrow and maybe see a few more of the pictures. I'm sure there are a lot of folks have pictures. My goodness, people took video. The videos that were shot today of the tornado, and specifically the one in Medill. I mean, there was somebody in the Food Saver parking lot taking a picture of the tornado that went through Oklahoma Steel and Wire. And if you know Medill and you know how close that is, that's a major standing in the parking lot, cell phone out, taking the picture. So, I may have to look at a few of those on social media. Here we go. This is what I'm going to end with. Let me see if I can bring this up. Don't forget, one more thing tomorrow, if I forget. And Bryan, you were late to the broadcast. So if you are still here, let me know and don't let me forget this tomorrow, because we need to talk about the study from USC. And USC is not known necessarily for being a conservative campus. So when we talk about this study from USC, it's very interesting. I want to point this out really quick. Hey, you lost me for just a moment. There we go. Lost me for just a moment there. Okay. All right. Well, you're just going to have to see me like this for just a little bit, I guess. Let me see if I can bring this on. I cannot tonight. Okay. Well, that's all right. Well, something went really weird with the broadcast, so you lost me for just a little bit. Oh my goodness, I'm showing up all over the place on this broadcast. All right, if you're still here, I wanted to talk about the New York Post I'm watching myself delayed right now. This is crazy. I don't know what happened to this signal tonight, but whatever happened, the New York Post posted a story yesterday about the fact that emergency medical technicians were not allowed anymore to try to revive people who didn't have a pulse. And I have the story up, and I can't bring that up right now, unfortunately, because I did something to my signal, and I don't know what happened. But we'll hit it tomorrow. I want to make sure you can see that. Let me wrap this up really quickly then. We need to talk about that tomorrow, okay? The New York Post story, we'll talk about that in the study from USC. There we go. How about that? There are still people watching, even though the internet signal completely blew up on me. I have no idea what happened. I looked on the screen. There were 2 or 3 of me. So that's more than we can deal with in one night. You only see one of me now? Good. That's great, because it was showing up like 2 or 3 times on my computer. And it was weird. It was a Brady Bunch episode with just me. So if you can picture that, the intro to the Brady Bunch, that was just incredibly odd. Anyway, how about Pastor Jacob? He did a fantastic job tonight. Tony and Zim last night, they did a fantastic job as well. The guests this week have just been over the top. So I want to give a big shout out to them and a big shout out to all of you all for watching tonight. Look, the sponsors and advertisers are just wonderful. I'm very thankful for all of them. Please be sure and tune in tomorrow. We're going to be on at 9. And then Friday, I did say I would mention Friday. Friday, we're doing the show in the early evening, late afternoon. The early evening, late afternoon. And if you recall, about 2 weeks ago, Senator David Bullard hosted a roundtable discussion talking about what was going on at the state capitol with some representatives. He also had U.S. Senator James Lankford on the line. He's going to be discussing some things on Friday, and we were set to do it in Marshall County. So we'll see if that's exactly where it's going to take place this time, or if it's still going to be there, and we'll check on that. But I believe it is a 5:30 start time on Friday. Senator David Bullard will be the guest host for BCP Live, and I know that he has a lot of things to share, and we'll have even more to share because obviously we'll know more about the 3 phases of the reopening in the state of Oklahoma. He's been active in this, and he'll be able to talk about a few more things that are going on there. So that is on Friday, 5:30, early start time for BCP Live. Tomorrow night we'll be back on at 9. Look, it's been fun. It really has been fun. I thank my friend Jacob Sheriff, pastor at Victory Life, for coming on tonight and talking about what's going on with his church during this COVID-19 situation. Just want to say thank you to all of you for watching. You guys are a blessing, and I really appreciate that as well. Look, we need to be wise. Always need to be wise. We need to walk in discretion and use discretion with all the decisions with which we have to make every day, and we do not walk in fear. This virus will not determine my future. No chart is going to determine who lives or who dies, and stick with that all the way through. We may add a couple of things on here to the end. No virus determines my future. No chart determines who lives or who dies. There is a lot more involved in that. So listen, just be blessed this night. Do not walk in fear. Thanks for watching the BCP Live. God bless you. Have a great night. See you tomorrow night at 9.